This is a reflection on my upbringing and its impact on my life. Briefly, and in fact, I dedicate my achievements, my successes in life, and my lifelong career as a teacher to my parents and to my teachers, who in different ways have contributed to who I am and what I am today. It is my belief that a good character training that children receive from their parents and teachers right from childhood can determine whether a child will go to college or prison, whether a child will end up getting hired or addicted to a social vice, and whether a child will be able to take care of himself or herself or remain dependent on charities even at adult age. Though my talk for today focuses on one of the pillars of LALU, that is character, however, I find it difficult to separate character from faith in this talk, in the sense that my parents built my character based on the family's faith, that is Catholicism. I was born and raised in Ghana, but I came to this country 12 years ago. I am the last of 8 children, but when I was growing up, 4 of my adult siblings had already left home and they were working in the cities, very far away from where we lived. As I said, I was born into a Catholic family. My parents were devout Christians, so going to church every Sunday was compulsory. Every Sunday evening, my dad would call a meeting, and guess what questions he would ask us? What was the gospel reading about today? Do you remember anything that you heard from the sermon? You will find yourself in trouble if you fail to remember anything at church that day. So this used to be every Sunday's routine. That means whenever you were in church, you have to bring back something to share. My dad's famous Bible verse was Proverbs chapter 22, verses 6, which says, "Train up a child in the way he should go. When he grows up, he will never depart from it." So part of our training was this. Every night we prayed together before going to bed. We also used to pray together again in the morning at 6 a.m. before we headed out to wherever we wanted to go to. Now a little bit about my community. We live in a farming community, and the nearest town from my village is about 4.5 miles away. And that was where all our schools were located. I'm using the past was because now there is a school in almost every farming community. But we used to walk like 4.5 miles. It means 9 miles round trip to school and back. So you can imagine. And we used to do that without complaining. Weekend nights, many of my friends would go back there, that is back to where our school was located, for fun activities, like go to watch concert, live concert, cinemas, for a dance at the town hall. And apart from going there for fun activities, that was also where they go to do all the bad things that you can imagine. All right. And those things they did had no bearing with their future career or their future life. My dad never for once allowed us to go there for any of the night programs or activities. That is one of the reasons why when I went to high school, I was a very quiet type, and the only place you could find me in high school was either in a library or in a classroom. And that also explains the reason why I went to the same high school with my wife, but she did not know me. Thankfully, I'm happy that she didn't know me when I met her. Otherwise, she would have told me that my life would be boring. So when I met her and I said, "Oh, I also went to the same high school," she said, "Oh, really?" I mentioned most of my classmates' names. She said, "But I know all of them. How come I did not know you?" I said, that was good for me. So, my dad was such a disciplinarian. The current generation would have referred to him as an authoritarian or a dictator. Where other parents allow their kids to go to, or whatever parents allowed their kids to do, my dad would say no. At that time, we thought those parents who allowed their kids to do whatever they wanted were the best parents. But my dad knew better. His objective, among others, was to give his children a good foundation for a better future. Whenever he objected to our demands, he would often tell us this: please, I'm not being mean to you. I want to make sure that in future you'll be able to stand against peer pressure. I want you to live a responsible life in future when you grow up. So that is the reason behind that kind of training. Now listen to this. In my country of birth, there is no law that regulates the age at which a child can start to drink alcohol. In many families, their children started to drink alcohol as long as they started to drink water. So, as for my dad, it was a big no. He told us that the fact that the laws of the country were silent over this doesn't mean that it was good for us. Smoking cigarette was also prohibited in our family, not even at adult age. Any form of tobacco in our house was considered an abominable act. But some of my classmates and friends were free to do whatever they wanted. They did a lot of bad things and went unpunished or without reproach from their parents, but we were so restricted. At that time, as inexperienced as we were, we thought our friends were having the most fun. But for the fear that my dad will beat the hell out of you, the mere thought of it, or giving a trial, would send cold shivers down your spine. So you dare not. However, one of my older brothers, his name is Eugene. He used to hang out with a friend who used to do all sorts of bad things, including smoking and drinking. I believe you all know this common saying, which goes like this: show me your friend and I'll show you your character. My dad stopped Eugene's friend from coming to our house, but they still met at school and did whatever they found fun for them. Let me touch a little bit on the life story of Eugene. The touching story of my part of my story is about my brother Eugene. He was so smart at school. None of us could match his smartness, but his smartness alone did not help him. I still remember when he used to try to influence us to disobey our parents. But I had a big no for him. I still remember when he ever told us how much fun we were missing. I still remember one day on our way back from school, one of my brothers, he is Raphael, tried 2 puffs of cigarette. As for me, I said no again to my oldest brother Eugene. I still remember how Eugene gave me a stern warning that day, and he said this: if my dad gets to know of this, you are dead. And he made this sign. If my dad gets to know that I made Raphael smoke, you are dead. That is what he did. So, out of fear, I didn't tell my parents because I know he was going to kill me. After middle school, Eugene passed his high school entrance examination successfully. In Ghana, middle school, you have to write a national exam to go to high school. It wasn't like a whole promotion. And if you were not always within the first 10 when they ranked the exam, you are not selected to write high school exams. That was our time. Now it has changed. And because Eugene was very smart, he was always the top. So he easily passed his national high school exams and went to high school. He got into a boarding school, and again in Ghana, boarding school is the norm. No student from middle school will want to stay at home and go to school. They would rather find it abnormal to go to high school from home. So everybody wants to be in a boarding school. So Eugene, my brother, was in the boarding school. Unfortunately, he did not graduate because he was kicked out of school in his 4th year. Our time, high school was 5 years. So he got to the 4th year because he was at the top, but he was kicked out of school. He was kicked out because he broke so many school rules, including smoking and drinking. Ironically, much as there is no law regulating drinking age in my country, it is a serious violation in all schools when you are caught with any form of alcohol or tobacco. I believe the school would have even kicked Eugene out earlier, but he used to represent his high school at the National Math and Science Contest because he was a very smart guy. When he was got out of school, he did not come back home. He left straight to the city. Well, he was able to get a job, later got married, and they had 2 children, girls. But when his wife was expecting their 3rd baby in less than 3 months, again, he lost his job because he was always drunk at work. 15 years ago, a family friend told us that he saw Eugene in a very small town between the borders of Ghana and Ivory Coast, that's in West Africa, and that he was looking very unhealthy because he took to drinking, and then he was looking so unhealthy. But I believe today he is still alive. Right now, I am the foster father of his last born, that's Eugene's last born, the one that the wife was expecting before he left. I'm the foster father of that boy, and thankfully, he is now a college junior and a double major in French and Spanish, and he's got a scholarship. He's now in Cuba majoring in taking classes in Spanish. The good thing is that this boy is also very smart, even smarter than the dad, but thank to God, he is super humble and very religious. Why am I telling you all this? I believe it is good to learn from people's successes and failures so that we will be able to make good choices for ourselves. Even though we go to school to get an education or pursue a future career, we also want to make sure that we develop our character. And in the end, character always trumps education, just like my experience. Put in another way, a strong character is more important than excellent talent. You see it all the time. People with talent often make it into the limelight, but without a strong character, they really stay there very long. The bad character will bring them down. Become an expert at saying no. Learn to say no to all social vices. In fact, any act or behavior that violates the rules of the community you live in, say no to that. Select good friends with good character traits to hang out with them. Your choices are your own. Even if someone can take your life, they cannot force you to make a choice that you believe is wrong. Finally, something to take away from this story. An ancient kingdom about 1,500 years ago decided to live in peace. So they made a great wall around the city to stop their enemies who had been invading them. They thought no one could climb the wall due to its height. During the first 100 years of its existence, they were invaded 3 times. And every time the enemies came, they had no need of penetrating or climbing the wall, because each time they came, they simply bribed the guards and came through the gates. How did they do that? This kingdom built the wall, but forgot the character building of the gate guards. Thus, the building of human character comes first before building of anything else. So, my dear students, embrace the good character of La Lumiere. Make good choices, and you will never regret for coming to La Lumiere. Thank you.